Hello viewers! If you need to make sure that you get an email that brings my videos to you, you have to do something different now with the YouTube rules. You need to go to the subscribe rectangle, click it, then you'll see a bell to the right of it, click the bell, and then a box will come up and you need to check the box that says send me all notifications for this channel and save it. And that way the emails will come to you and bring the videos to you and you don't have to go searching for them. Hello my Minnow friends. One of my viewers coined that term. Welcome back to Menopause, your management, your way, now and for the rest of your life. I'm Menopause Barbie, and today I'm giving you tutorial number 36. Now I'm going to begin with a quiz question. Come on, don't be upset. I haven't given you one for quite a while. It'll be fun, okay? Here it is. The most versatile or interchangeable of the sex hormones is, or are, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen and progesterone, but only in combination with one another, or testosterone and progesterone are equally versatile. Which is it? It's B, progesterone, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Today we'll be covering pages 136 to 137 in the book and page 31 in the outline notes. We've just completed 10 video tutorials on estrogen, and you saw that there are many categories of estrogen. Well, the same is true for progesterone. These include botanical, herbal, bioidentical, and synthetic progesterone. So we've got lots of different kinds of progesterone. Look what I have with me today. Do you know what this is? It's a chameleon. That's right, she's a chameleon. Now, why do I have a chameleon? Well, because a chameleon is a lizard that can change colors to blend in with the surrounding environment, right? And I have her with me here today because progesterone has a unique feature that makes it different from all the other hormones. It's a chameleon. In other words, just like our chameleon here, it can change its appearance to look like other things. You see, our chameleon can change her color from pinkish to greenish, and right now she's a soft greenish blue, but we're going to give her a few minutes. In the meantime, let me tell you the story about getting this chameleon to star in our video today. So a week ago, I went to a pet store to inquire about chameleons, and I approached the cashier and started by saying, "This is going to be the strangest inquiry you have ever had." And of course, I was dressed like this because I actually dress like this every day. If you thought I only dressed like this for the videos, think again. It's my everyday attire. So there I was, standing in the pet store, looking like I belong in the 1800s. And I said, "I'm Dr. Barbara Taylor, a gynecologist, and I have a YouTube channel in which I give educational video tutorials on menopause. And I need a chameleon. But I don't want to buy the chameleon. I just want to borrow the chameleon. I want one to star in my video." The person at the desk was just nodding her head at me as if this was the most ordinary thing in the world. So I continued. I said, "You see, I'm doing a video on the hormone progesterone, and it changes into other hormones just like a chameleon changes to other colors. So I want to demonstrate what progesterone does by showing my viewers what your chameleon does." Now, I half expected her to ask me to leave, but instead, she called Adam, the caretaker of the chameleons. And Adam took me to meet this beautiful chameleon. Now, you know, I have never cared a fig about chameleons. But I found her kind of fascinating. And before I knew it, I'd made arrangements to show her to you today. So her caretaker, Adam, is here with her. And at first, she was calm, as demonstrated by that greenish blue color you just saw. She was happy as a clam. I mean, a chameleon. But now look, if you look closely, you can see that all up around her ears and head, she's much pinker. So she's gotten all excited about this video, and that has made her turn pink. I think she's always dreamed of being a movie star. So I'll give her back to Adam now. Anyway, I just want you to know how people everywhere are thrilled to help me when I tell them about these videos. They all want to get in on the privilege of educating you guys about menopause. So we're talking today about progesterone. And progesterone is the chameleon hormone. In other words, progesterone can convert itself into other hormones. Do you remember when we used these French presses with scarves in them to represent hormones? So pink is for estrogen. The blue is for testosterone. And remember this one? This one is progesterone. So notice it has pink, blue, and yellow scarves in it. So the pink represents estrogen, and the blue represents testosterone, and yellow represents progesterone. And that's because of this chameleon property that it has. The pink and the blue indicate that it can change into estrogen and progesterone. So I guess you could say that progesterone sort of has this identity problem. So do you think progesterone's ability to convert itself into other hormones is a good thing or a bad thing? Sounds a bit controversial, doesn't it? Well, as with anything controversial, progesterone's chameleon properties constitute a positive quality for some people and a negative quality for others. And it constitutes a positive quality in some circumstances and a negative one in others. Now you're probably thinking, cool, but how can chameleon properties be undesirable? We all probably wish we could turn ourselves into other things from time to time, don't we? But here's the catch. Our chameleon changes her colors in a predictable way. Greenish blue is calm, and pinkish is excited. So now Adam has put our chameleon on a greenish blue background, and she has predictably changed her colors to match her surroundings. She's greenish blue again. See? Greenish blue. She's trying to get out of this little habitat because it's smaller, much smaller than the one she's usually in. And now we're going to put her on a pink background, and she'll predictably change back into her pinkish color. And that's because she's predictable. So we're going to give her a few minutes. But progesterone is unpredictable. You can't predict when it will change into estrogen or when it will change into testosterone. And that can make things awkward when it comes to managing your menopause. But it also makes it awkward for professionals. You see, there's this big controversy over this controversial progesterone hormone. Most professionals in the traditional medical arena, like myself, MDs, believe that it's better to use estrogen and progesterone and testosterone individually so that you can use them as their intended purposes. And see, these people believe that it's better to adjust each hormone individually than to rely on the mere possibility that progesterone will convert itself into the other two hormones in a desirable manner. Their position is, why rely on progesterone's unpredictable behavior when you can use these hormones individually and know precisely what each one does? On the other hand, many proponents of alternative and complementary medicine promote progesterone as the solution for all menopausal problems because of its ability to convert into other hormones. You see how that works? So there's this push in the alternative and complementary arena to use progesterone as the sole and the best menopausal option for all women. Their attitude is, why expose your body to estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone when progesterone can function as all three? Now, you know that I don't advocate any single option for all women, and that has nothing to do with the fact that I'm an MD belonging to the traditional medical world. My reason is that I want you to understand why some people do advocate progesterone for all women, and it really doesn't matter what I think or what the pro-progesterone people think. All that matters is what you think. So you can probably find merit in both viewpoints. But remember, your brain and your body may not agree. You may really love this idea of using progesterone for all your menopausal woes, only to find that it doesn't alleviate your menopausal symptoms. And if that's the case, you might have to opt for something else. So let's take a look at our chameleon again. She's her pinkish color again. She's female, so she doesn't change colors greatly. Some of the male chameleons change a lot. She changes just mostly up around her ears and head and a little bit on her feet. Okay, she's been against a pink background, and as expected, she's more of a pink color. Now, progesterone has another unique characteristic. It's inconsistent. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean that it may not behave the same way over time for managing your menopause. You see, our chameleon isn't going to outgrow her tendency to turn greenish blue when she's calm and pinkish when she's excited. She will exhibit the same behavior for the rest of her life, but not progesterone. Progesterone is inconsistent. So it might alleviate most of your perimenopausal or early postmenopausal symptoms, and then later on become completely ineffective at doing so. And again, there are different ways of assessing this characteristic. On the one hand, some may view it as a great product to use in the early menopausal years, but only for a short time. And others may view it as detrimental to use progesterone early on and then have to change to something else later, instead of just choosing a different option right from the start that offers more long-term benefits. So what do you think? It's a matter of personal preference. You get to choose what's right for you. And progesterone has yet another unique property. Its results are variable, so I call it the variable hormone also. So what do we mean by variable? It means that different categories of progesterone are not created equal. Different categories. What are the different categories of progesterone? Well, it's just like different species of chameleons. Different species of chameleons change colors to different degrees and for different reasons. And different kinds of progesterone have different characteristics. Progesterone has the same categories you saw with estrogen. There's the herbal, the botanical, the bioidentical, and the synthetic. But here are some examples of how these vary. The bioidentical and synthetic forms may produce very different results in the same woman. Synthetic progesterone can produce more severe unpleasant side effects than bioidentical progesterone. Or the side effects of different forms of progesterone can be completely different. For example, bioidentical progesterone can cause sedation, and synthetic progesterone can cause moodiness. And another thing, the benefits of different types of progesterone may vary. So one form of progesterone may prevent certain cancers or heart attacks better than another. And the actual results you get in treating your symptoms of menopause may vary with different forms of progesterone. So you see, all these differences exist. So regardless of which category of progesterone you prefer theoretically, the physical effects may be so different between them that you actually change your mind completely. So progesterone is variable in all of its effects. But despite all of these differences, there is one thing about progesterone that overrides everything else. It prevents uterine cancer. So despite all these quirky things about progesterone, what makes it worth all this confusion is that it prevents uterine cancer. As you navigate through your options for management of your menopause, the one thing you must keep in mind is this. If you still have your uterus, and you use any form of estrogen therapy at all, you have to also use progesterone. Do you remember way back when I taught you about the basic functions of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone in your body? That was video tutorial number 9. I taught you that estrogen thickens the lining of your uterus, and progesterone limits the thickening of the lining of your uterus. Do you remember this? This shows estrogen as a blue line and progesterone as a green line. Your uterine lining is that orange and red structure at the bottom of this picture. So what this picture depicts is what happens to your uterine lining when you're still having your cycles. So if you look at it, what you see is that when you're still having your cycles and your periods, estrogen thickens your uterine lining in the first half of your cycle, and then progesterone comes along in the second half to limit that thickening, and then it causes the lining to shed. And that's what your period is. It's a shedding of the lining that got too thick in your uterus. So even after you stop having periods, if you use estrogen, it's still going to thicken the lining of your uterus, which means you need progesterone to prevent that thickened lining from turning into uterine cancer. So if you still have your uterus, this basic principle of needing progesterone to prevent uterine cancer is going to dictate a whole bunch of your options. So how does that fit into our discussion of progesterone's changing, unpredictable, inconsistent, variable, chameleon-like personality? Well, as you might guess, progesterone is just as finicky when it comes to protecting your uterus as it is with everything else. There are different forms of progesterone. There's oral, there's vaginal, and there's transdermal, which is through the skin. And each of those varies in its ability to prevent uterine cancer. So vaginal progesterone does a good job of preventing uterine cancer. And how well oral progesterone does depends on whether it's bioidentical or synthetic. And in this case, synthetic oral progesterone prevents uterine cancer better than bioidentical oral progesterone does. Now the transdermal routes are the ones that go through the skin, and those include the skin patches, the creams, the gels. And these transdermal routes of progesterone, they vary in their ability to prevent uterine cancer. You know how I like to make charts for you, and most of them give you really useful specific information. But all of the uncertainty with progesterone makes a chart summarizing this material kind of questionable. I mean, look at this one. So how ironic is that? I mean, the most critical hormone for protecting your uterus from uterine cancer is a changing, unpredictable, inconsistent, and variable hormone. I mean, go figure. But don't worry, we have ways to work around all of that. Like everything else, you might have to try a few of these progesterone options to find the one that's right for you. Okay, but what about the effect of progesterone on other parts of your body? You know, a few tutorials ago, it was number 35 to be exact, you learned that the SERMs vary in their effects on your breast and heart, right? So you might wonder, what effect does progesterone have on your breast and heart? Well, it depends on whether it's bioidentical or synthetic. Bioidentical progesterone is better for preventing breast cancer and heart attacks than synthetic progesterone is. And so what's best for your breast and your heart is the opposite of what's best for your uterus when it comes to progesterone. Confusing, isn't it? Kind of frustrating, right? Like I told you, progesterone is a confused and confusing hormone. But since its primary purpose is to prevent uterine cancer, use what's best for your uterus if you still have your uterus. And if you don't still have your uterus, you can use whatever kind of progesterone you want, or you can use none at all. So let's wrap this up with a little summary chart of those differences between bioidentical and synthetic progesterone. Here you go. This is the bottom line. What you see is that bioidentical progesterone causes sedation, and it's best for preventing breast cancer and heart attack. And synthetic progesterone causes drowsiness, but it's best for preventing uterine cancer. What you've learned today is that progesterone is more finicky than a chameleon, but it's really important for protecting your uterus against uterine cancer. And that's really this entire video in a nutshell. So, I'll leave you to think about this until next time, and that's when we're going to delve into the different sources of progesterone. So, stay well until then. Bye.